All right, AJ, you got a hand for us?
Yeah, playing a 5, 10, 20 at Lucky Chances.
5, 10, 20. All right, so 5, 10, 20 lucky chances. What's the cap and the buy-in? Uncapped.
Um,
Okay. They don't run this game that much, right?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay. All right.
Uh, Nine-handed time break.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 4.5K effective with the main villain.
All right, so 4.5K effective. Okay.
Folds to the hijack and makes it 60. He's kind of a tighter player. Um, and then I make it 200 on the button
With
with ace two of diamonds.
ace of diamonds, deuce of diamonds. So three blind, and you're on the button, right?
Yeah.
All right, so three blind setup, three blind configuration, which is going to mean that you are more incentivized to play a three bet strategy on the button than normal. Now you guys are about 220, 225 big blinds deep, and that is because you've got three people in the blinds, and it's going to be more apt. They're going to be more apt to sort of get a pricing call. And a lot of these hands, obviously, you're incentivized to get it heads up. So being more aggressive in a three blind format from the button is certainly a good approach. Would you do you have a flatting range here with this setup?
Um, I mean, yes. I just most of the time prefer the three bet because a lot of the time if I put money in there, I'm gonna get squeezed out.
Oh, so you're sort of preventing a squeeze? You mean you don't want a double flat?
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of players are playing three better fold from the blinds, a lot of the time I'm going to get squeezed out.
Yeah. All right. No, just fair enough. Fair enough. So you go to 200 with ace deuce of diamond. You ever fold this hand, or is this always a three bet?
No, I could fold this hand versus this guy for sure.
So it's like a
Yeah,
mixed
I just was
approach. Okay.
feeling frisky, I guess.
Yeah. So you go to 200 with ace deuce of diamonds, and
He folds and he calls
all right. So hijack calls, and your heads up, and looks like the pot's gonna be like 420 or something like that.
for 35, I think.
435. Oh, because it's time. Yeah. All right. So 435 to the flop. Okay.
Flop is great. It's 10 of diamonds, three of diamonds, three of clubs.
So 10 of diamonds, three of diamonds. What was it? Three of clubs.
Three of clubs. Yep,
So you flop the nut flush draw with a little bit of backdoors here.
exactly.
Okay.
And he checks,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to bet small with almost every, or not almost, with all my hands. So I bet 100.
Are you sure that you're supposed to bet small here on this board with all those hands if no three is represented here? In the sense of, I know that, again, when there's no two pair represented here, and a lot of times you have sort of the pre-flop kind of range advantage that is sometimes reflected with a somewhat of a larger sizing. Now I know a 10 is not the lowest card. I'm just kind of, like I said, throwing it out there. I don't necessarily know if it's always a token one quarter here on this texture. If it's much different if it's like 10-7-7 or 10-8-8 where there was trips represented. But okay, so you go 100.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that was right. I just, in this kind of texture,
I
I
mean
feel like I can
that's
get a
my
lot of folds eventually.
yeah, I mean, that's my thought with that. That's where what I have seen is that you are allowed to go to take somewhat of a larger sizing when just when the pre-flop sort of range advantage relates to the board in the sense where the overpairs are still going to be almost always good. Much different than like 10-9-7, like I said, 10-9-9, something like that. So, all right, you bet 100.
Yeah, I bet 100, thinking that I can get eventually like fours through nines to fold, if needed.
Right. Well, they're not going to
And
fold now, right?
no, yeah, not right now,
Yeah.
but um, he makes it 300,
So he check
which is
raises.
kind of small. Yeah, check raising.
So hijack C raises to 300, which is kind of small. I mean, you started with 4,500. That's kind of a small check raise. Although, like I said, I will say that as the players become more studying, people are finding the somewhat of the correct check raises or raises in position in three bet pots versus very small sizing. Meaning that because you've taken such small sizing on the flop, people aren't supposed to just only have calls, because that just allows you to realize your equity, right? If they're only sort of node locked on call, it makes it very, very difficult, because you can just always realize your equity. This is actually, if you are up against a lot of players who don't have a check raising range in 3-bet pots, and you might start to see that sort of at the lower levels like 5-5, this is why you actually can liberally almost always 1/3 almost any board. That's the thing. Regardless of the texture of the board, if your opponent's response is either call or fold in a 3-bet pot, if you sort of add that variable in, you can see why you can pretty much bet almost 100% of the time with 1/3 sizing. Because of that fact, because you're just always getting allowed to like sort of realize your equity. They're not finding the check raises. You're never blown off your equity. Now here, I think that the play here is probably it's kind of interesting though, because how would you approach this spot here with like aces or kings? Because there has to be, if we're throwing out 3x as any type of real viable possibility here, and you bet super small and this guy check raised you, there probably is a frequency of bet 3-betting on the flop to get more money in. So it's not like it's insane for you to all of a sudden bet 3-bet against a check raise here when there's no trips represented, if you would do it with aces and kings. I kind of tend to want to do a fair amount of calling here, and then I expect him to check a fair amount on the turn. Maybe not always, but if he does, then I'm probably going to go balls to the wall and really represent what I think is credible, which is an overpair. So I could see calling here, and then if he checks, I'm just going bet. I mean, I know it's somewhat bad that we've got front door diamonds, but we just have a lot of overpairs that kind of want to do that. And I think there might be some merit to bet 3-betting against the check raise here too.
Yeah, I thought about it. Crossed my mind to 3-bet. I think that's what I would do with aces and kings sometimes. And also, I think that I made a mistake here with my sizing. I'm usually a 3-5 player, and 3-5 people are not check raising here almost ever. If they have like another hand, they're going to just call. If they have nothing,
Yeah,
probably
I would be very surprised if someone check raises here with 10-10. So you're saying you're stepping up. You usually don't play in this game?
Yeah, so 3-5 in this kind of board, like maybe they're going to hang on with a small pair, but in 5-10, I think I made a mistake here, betting too small.
So what did you do here with a 300?
I mean, I didn't really know what he was representing. I ended up just calling, but I was
Okay.
contemplating 3-betting.
So now the pot is 1135
Yeah.
or 1035, right?
10-35.
Okay. All right. On to the turn.
Turn is a 4 of diamonds.
4 diamonds. You make the nut flush.
Yep.
Okay.
And I pretty much expected him to check almost everything. But he bet 600.
So hijack bet 600. Now, if you were to call, the pot would be 22, and you guys have put in like, what, 9, 11. You guys would have about 2, 5, 11.
34.
You'd have 34 left. The pot would be 22. So, I mean, you're still dealing with a lot of, there's a lot of stack depth left. The problem here though is that like you're pretty much always calling with all other hands here. Maybe even some smaller non-nut flushes. And you would think that flushes would just continue to bet on the river so that you can get more money in. So, I mean, I think most of the time here, kind of the play is to call. You're right, it is somewhat surprising. I mean, maybe he does have another flush, a smaller flush, right? Some sort of Broadway diamonds or something like that. But you should be able to get another bet in anyways on the river. This would be the case for calling to keep some of his bluffs. And I was kind of trying to figure out like if he ever had like some sort of 1-card diamond in his hand here that he would start a bluff with on the flop. But
I don't see that.
Yeah, he did defend to the 3-bet though, so he shouldn't really have a whole lot of like offsuit
He's too
types.
tight to defend king queen off, king 10 off,
Yeah,
king
and
jack
then
off.
some of the bet. I mean, the offsuit hands would be like ace king and like ace queen maybe, but like you don't really do a whole lot of check raising with like ace king with the king of diamonds on 10-3-3 or
Yeah,
ace
he could just
queen.
call.
Yeah, or ace queen with the queen of diamonds. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, I mean, I just think that probably calling here, I think is the play.
Yeah, so I wanted to raise just because I felt like I have the best hand so often, and he might slow down with like a smaller flush.
Oh, actually, you know
Um,
what? Thank you guys in the live chat. This is what I was looking for. How about like something like, he probably doesn't have, well, ace 10. He can't have ace 10 with a diamond, and he probably shouldn't have king 10. But would he, jacks with the jack of diamonds? That's one thing that kind of pops out. Jacks with the jack of
that
diamonds,
crossed my mind.
does that continue to bet here on the turn when the diamond comes? Maybe. Maybe.
I thought on the flop, I thought he might have jack, something like jacks, but then when
Mm-hmm.
he continued on the turn, I kind of eliminated that.
Mm-hmm. What did you do here on the turn?
I just called.
All right, so hero calls. And now we're at 22-35. And again, we've put in, I'm just going to replay the hand here. So again, 5, 10, 20, 4,500 effective, 60 from the hijack button, hero button, ace deuce of diamonds to 200. He calls. Pot's 435, 10 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. Check, 100, very small, c-bet. Check raise to 300. Hero calls, pot's 1,035, turns the 4 of diamonds, hijack bets 600. Hero calls, pot's 22.35, and they've put in 1,100, so they've got about 33 to 3,400 left, about a pot and a half size bet left. Okay, what's the river?
Um, Actually, I had a question. If we're giving him jacks,
Mm-hmm.
like, do we have to give him fours through nines as like a small protection bet on the flop? And then on the turn, it'd be
I
pretty
don't
much just
know
narrowed down to
if I
fours.
don't know if force is really supposed to be check raised here on the flop all that much. I mean, it would be three. It seems very, very light.
He's kind
Usually,
of out there, but I bet kind of small, and um, maybe he's protecting his.
I mean, possibly, I guess, but that wasn't really one that I was gonna put all
Okay,
that
I'm
much
just
into
checking.
consideration. So 22.35 here to the end. Okay,
River is a seven of clubs, so it changes nothing.
7 of clubs. So 7 of clubs, and it's interesting that with fours, like how often is fours without a diamond versus with a diamond check raised, and the ones with the backdoors can continue more across diamond turns. You want to blow yourself off the equity. So I wonder if fours without it. It's interesting with the way that sometimes like you're continuing versus sort of raising. Usually you raise with better hands that have better chances to make more better hands. So you kind of think, oh, fours with a diamond would be raised more than, without a diamond. But if you have a diamond in your hand, you can more easily call across diamond turns. So it is interesting. All right, 7 of clubs here at the end. 10-3-3-4-7. Okay.
Right. So again, I'm expecting some sort of small bet or check. But he bets 2,200.
2,200. Leaving himself with about, what, 1,100 left?
Yeah, 11, 12.
So full pot.
Yeah, and I was kind of in the blender at this point.
Wow. So
Uh,
wait a minute. So you get into one of these situations where, and I know that I have invented this term because I'm the only one that really uses it, which is funny because I think it's a good thing to look at, which is reverse pot odds, COP, content reference, reverse pot odds. What reverse pot odds means is you actually taking a hand for thinner value, or in this case, shoving with it, than you otherwise normally would if deeper, because your opponent is going to get such good pot odds. And the reason why I look at that, one of the things that just hopped out at me right away here is because, if you call, the pot's going to be 6,600. He only has 1,100 left. So that means that if you shove, it will be 7,700, 1,100 for him to call. If you shove, he's going to get 7-1 at the end. And the reason why that's important, as opposed to if you guys had 5,000 behind, which I think is just a clear call, is because if he has a flush here, I don't think he's ever folding, getting 7-1. Now, what types of hands obviously do you lose to? Sort of the subtle ones. Like, what do you lose to? Tens, right? That take sort of small building sizing. That's 3 combos. Do tens always take sizing like that? Even in a 3-bet pot, I got to say, like, a lot of people see, I would expect a lot of times tens are going to just call, because this type of texture is ripe for you to represent a triple barrel. It's different than like a different type of board like 10-9-7 where he wants to get value. Like even me, I might do a lot of calling from out of position with 10-10 because if my opponent is any type of player, he can try to barrel me off. I want to give you the opportunity to run like some sort of ace of diamonds bluff across turns, right? So, and same thing with pocket threes. I mean, it's the same concept here. The real thick value on the flop, there's 4 combos, right? If he defends with 3-3. There's 1 combo quads and there's 1 combo of tens full. And the thing is that like, honestly, I really think accurately, maybe 25% of the time, I'll give him liberally that he'll play one of those hands like that, which is like one out of the 4 combos, right? So you lose to like one of the combos. And then you move to the turn, as you brought up, this is how I would be thinking about this, right? As you brought up, would you ever do it with 4s? Well, there's 3 combos of 4s here, right? That are possible. I mean, it sounds insane to me, but I will liberally give him one of the combos of 4s. One of the combos of 4s, okay? So now you're left with like 2 of the 7 combos, which I think, like I said, this is liberally of those boats that I think would play that way. So are there more than 2 combos of other hands? Remember, if you were this, it's either a call or a shove. I don't think you're thinking about folding here. It's either a call or a shove. So question is that are there more than 2 combos that will call your shove here? And because of reverse pot odds, the other interesting thing about your hand is that your hand being ace deuce of diamonds is better than if you had ace king of diamonds, right? I like your hand having ace deuce of diamonds as opposed to ace king or ace queen of diamonds. So I kind of go back to the flop. I've not looked at the live chat. I kind of go back to this flop action and how a lot of times this board is not fast played off. And I liberally give 2 out of 7 boat combos. I think it's actually less than that. And can I find 2 flush combos here that this guy can have that will call, especially if we have no Broadway diamond? So for those reasons, with only 1,100 left, I think I jam. Now I'm going to look at the live chat. What do we say? What do we say here? People are saying that pocket sevens would be hilarious. Michael G saying he's jam. That would be hilarious, right? Michael G says that he is jamming. People are saying ace 3. Of course, you beat ace 3. Ace 3 suited. That was another. I mean, that's another one. Yeah, ace 3. But it's weird though. I mean, I don't think ace 3 takes it this deep, right? You can say that ace 3 might check raise flop, but is it really going to go balls to the wall, turn and river? I don't think so. If you throw an ace 3, it's a definite jam, right? The guy's going to get 7-1.
Yeah.
At the end. What did you do?
I don't necessarily agree with you that he's going polar with like king queen or king jack of diamonds.
That's what?
I didn't know if he would polarize with the non-nut flush here.
You think that this sizing represents too much strength with like the king high flush?
I think he would go a half pot. I mean, I know the absolute value of the money was pretty big at that point. And generally in my experience, when the absolute value gets that big, people have it.
So it sounds like to me like you might have just called.
I just called, yeah. I didn't think there was no bluffs. I didn't think there was enough.
Remember, I agree with you. There's no bluff. I agree that there's no bluffs. That's for sure. But the breakdown that I'm looking at is I still think that, and again, if you had more money behind, it's different. But we're not going to have a situation where a value hand is going to fold here. I think getting 7-1, which is
I gave him every combo of tens.
Well, that's that's the whole thing when you do structured hand analysis. Yeah, there's 3 combos of tens, but you really have to drill down and say, how often are tens playing it this way? And that, like I said, I think liberally like 1 out of 3. Well, I said 1 out of 4 of that pool of the thick flop value hands just because of the nature of the board and wanting the three better to triple barrel off. So you just call, and what does he have?
Yeah, he had pocket threes.
He had quads.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you lost less than I would have.
If you're not giving him every combo of pocket tens, how can you give him every combo of king, queen, king, jack suited, queen, jack suited, diamonds?
I'm not giving him every combo. I'm saying, can we find 2 flush combos total of the entire deck? Right? Whether it is king, queen, and 5, 6 of diamonds, or king, jack of diamonds, and 6, 7 of diamonds, it's just 2 total combos of flushes. Now, what you say about his sizing has definite merit, for sure, what you're saying. That maybe somebody doesn't go that strongly with non-nut flushes, but it's an interesting one, for sure. Thank you, Anand, or AJ. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.